Welcome to the Occult Rejects. We are two former secret society members who are determined to show the public the truth that occultism has been purposely integrated into every aspect of society, from politics to music, Hollywood, and science. This is used to manipulate the public as a whole and to protect the fake elite. The symbols are used all around us to affect world events and public perception, our behavior, and even our future. We will translate the occult so that you have eyes to see. We reject their agenda to give you the tools to save yourself.
Welcome to another episode of Subconscious Realms International Roundtable. I'm your host, General Lee, and in attendance we have my co-host, the incredible, most extraordinary Sir Raven Kiefer. Now then, Raven.
Hey, hey, y'all. Glad to be with you.
Thanks, mate. Thank you. And for tonight, right? Oh. Right, so tonight, fuck man, we are being joined by the phenomenal New York Patriot and Lux of the Occult Rejects. These don't need introducing, man. These are the elite of the elite pinnacle level. It does not get any better.
Thank you.
Thanks, you know, I'm just being honest, lad. And we've also got another Mint podcast, Rob and Marta of Edge of the Headlights. Show what, you know, when I found them, just the content, I just fucking loved it. And every episode is consistent. Just what we need.
I'm glad you were drunk every episode. Right. Consistent. Thank you, General.
No, man,
I appreciate it.
Quality fucking show, man. I love it. But yeah, so I've been looking forward to this episode. I've been pumped all fucking day. So before we begin, would you like to let everybody know where they can get hold of you, please? Start with the Occult Rejects.
English. Well, we kind of all have everything in one space now on Spreaker with the Occult Rejects and Wise Show and my podcast, Lux Rising Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at the Occult Rejects and pretty much anywhere besides Facebook. I guess you can find us on YouTube, but we're a little bit of everywhere. And Wise on Instagram. You can find them at NY Patriot.
Yeah, no, actually, there is an Occult Rejects on Facebook, and we do have a page, and we're actually streaming to Facebook right now.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I made one. I was like, "Fuck it, I can stream to it. I'll make one." Yeah, we actually have like 1,000 followers on that.
Funny.
Well, it's such a weird.
That makes a lot of
that. I got rid of Facebook a while ago, and just never it's just such a weird platform. I
have not signed in.
We're still on there, but
I have not signed into my own Facebook account probably in almost 2 years.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I have. Oh, sorry, but yeah.
Guys, I posted a Fauci interview from about 10 years ago, and it got me banned, so I don't miss it.
So you don't have a choice to not be on there right now. So
lovely.
How dare you post the Fauci?
Yeah, it's like the Ministry of Truth, like from Harry Potter and shit.
Yeah. So, where could everybody get hold of Edge of the Headlights?
Yeah, we're on Edge of the Headlights. This is Rob. My co-host is Marty. We're on Twitter, and we're also on Instagram, Facebook, occasionally. And we also just started a Discord channel. You can see us all at EOTH Podcast on any one of them platforms.
Nice, mate. Nice one. Raven? Is Raven back with us now?
Yeah.
This is like being very uncooperative, but you can always find me at Spreaker.com under No Apologies Enough Said.
No, you, mate. I love it. So, what's everybody been getting? Anything unusual happened this week around your neck of the woods?
Everything.
Yeah, right. The fucking world.
Oh yes, mate. Yes. The weather. What's the weather like now, Will?
Right, yeah. I was gonna say, that's the only thing we've had, man. It's just rain all day.
Fucking hell, man. I wish we had.
I have a question. Okay, let's go back with CERN turning on. Was it July 5th?
Yeah.
And in Sioux Falls, we had that big green sky come through. Everybody's
Yeah.
seen it in the world. We were on the internet. Sioux Falls from South Dakota. I got a question. Now this thing came up where they're talking about Britney Spears, the "Hit Me Baby One More Song," that song. Was she wearing a plaid skirt or a black skirt? Because I definitely remember a plaid skirt during the video.
Plaid skirt.
No, the video shows a black skirt now.
She had a skirt on.
Mate.
Yes, she did. Wasn't one of those videos.
There's nothing winking at you.
So Shannon, she was wearing a proper frock, like.
Yeah, right.
Good job, man.
A big old turtleneck and parka on. Oh, Jesus.
That's the only weird thing I've heard about Elvis.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy how they like bait and switch everything. You know, they understand how the public reacts to situations. That's why we don't hear much. That's why we're not hearing much about COVID right now. They switched things to everyone focusing on either Ukraine, China, Johnny Depp trial. Whatever week it is, they just change it so that people, because they know that the attention spans are short.
Oh, God,
and they control the narrative, and then they just switch it every week, 2 weeks, and then they have the public's attention again.
Well, whenever they have something else they need or need covered up, we throw out a new big story that we want everyone to follow and worry about, no matter how inane it is.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's
fucking.
It's the illusion. It's the illusionist trick. Look over here, not over there.
Yep, the razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you guys something. I heard something really funny on a podcast the other night. It was somebody said that the Bigfoot were our progenitors.
I don't know who said that.
How dare he?
I love it.
The FRO is going to come crashing down on that son of a bitch.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah, I know. Ain't that terrible?
I'll take full credit for that. I did say that. Because it's the theory out there. It's like, it makes sense in a small amount of way. It does.
Oh, you know, I was listening to it, and a buddy of mine were talking, and I said, you know, it seems that like they're smarter than we are. We can't find them. They can walk up right behind us, and we don't know they're there.
Right.
And then they can scare the waddens out of us and then disappear just as quick. They seem to be smarter than we are.
Oh, yeah.
They are. I truly believe they're a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for, because if there's some dumb animal like a bear or deer or even a primate, we get them on trail cams all the goddamn time. And I don't care if people say they could possibly see the beams coming out from the cameras. I know deer can. I've seen deer look right at the camera even before it goes off. I've watched them from the stand.
Mm-hmm.
They can see it. But it's
so they've got
else. There's something
proper
else.
enhanced hearing.
What now?
If they got like proper enhanced hearing, then they must have compared to ours.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's technology based, personally.
That's interesting.
No, I told General I was going to pick on you because I do watch your shows in case you can't, or listen to your shows in case you can't tell. But you know what's really cool is you guys talk about being comedy and making fun.
Right.
But people would actually listen to you. You guys have some serious research that you all do.
Oh God, thank you for that compliment, because our research is very bare minimum.
Right.
I'm the one that usually goes down the weird ass rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because like on our last episode, Mari said, "Oh crap, you brought out the tablet."
Yeah.
Like,
No, you don't give yourself the credit you deserve, gentlemen. You really don't.
Well, it's like all us guys out there that do podcasting. If they hit you, if our podcast is hitting people on a certain note, that's good. And if it's not, that's good too, because at least people are listening to us, and we're just kind of out there promoting like, hey, you need to have different aspects. If you want to figure out this whole weird paranormal ball of wax, you got to look at it from many, many different eyes.
Definitely.
If it's different than yours, doesn't mean you're wrong. It's like, let's discuss and find a common ground, and maybe we can tackle it together.
Absolutely.
Well, not, mate. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if maybe it's just because of the people that I've just come across doing my own show, or if it's maybe just something that's picking up. But I do feel that like the paranormal community kind of is looking at. I don't think is looking at stuff the same as it used to anymore, and actually kind of like questioning like I guess kind of what the opinion of certain things are or have been for a while. Like I think people are starting to. I don't know how to explain it, but I do think when it comes to like ghost hunting, or even people with like Rando Nordica, or like even people who normally go out and do petroglyphs and stuff like that, like they're starting to take different types of equipment with them now, and I think like people are coming to an understanding that like because your meter is going up and moving may mean a little bit more than what the average person acts like on a ghost hunting show on TV. Maybe there's something going on there, and that's why that meter is moving. It's not just a ghost. I do feel like that is changing, where people are starting to look at that type of stuff a little bit more objectively, and like I think there might be something else to this crap.
Well, I think too, like you're saying. A lot of people are starting to kind of question the status quo that is always.
Yes, that's what I should. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. The status quo. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, the technology and the ability to go do this has become much more accessible.
Oh hell yeah.
To people, and they're looking at things their own way, and not just, oh, this show told me this, so that's got to be fact. That is the problem I have with some of the ghost hunting shows. I mean, I do watch a lot of them. But there's a lot of them. It's like, oh, there was this noise here. That must mean that they're saying, yes, they were this ghost. It's like, there's no proof that that's what that was. Something weird happened. Yeah, you've caught that. But that you've automatically now jumped to this conclusion that, oh, it's Robert, this ghost that they say is here. There's no conclusive evidence that Robert, the ghost, did anything. Some noise was made, but, I mean, you do have the Robert here. But, you do, I think, have a lot of people now that are starting to kind of look at things their own way and look at things themselves. Instead of just watching this show and listening to it, they're going, I can go get a little camera. Mm-hmm. I can get a tri-field meter for, next to nothing and go look at this stuff myself and figure out for myself what kind of thing is going on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, it's funny to see how things, like NY was saying, they have changed, that people are starting to entertain that when they're going into these paranormal experiences or places, that it's, more than just a ghost. Unfortunately, you do have a lot of people on YouTube and other platforms that are faking the majority of their content. Some of them, I'm sure, are COINTELPRO, right? Like, some of these accounts are put out there to change the narrative, and for us, NY and I being in the occult for so long, it's really cool to see people viewing how like the paranormal is being explored now, because it's so different. And it honestly, I think if everybody talks to each other from the paranormal side, from the occult side, conspiracy theorist side, whatever, that we can put all the pieces together to get a bigger picture than it just being an echo of a ghost from like 19, whatever. So there's a lot of more moving parts there than just it being one explanation for everything.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, how about this too? Every time we turn around, FBI, CIA, or some other agencies out there putting these big things on display, our friends with the headlights pointed out that Tom DeLonge is now investigating Bigfoot for us.
Yeah.
So when we start seeing these people jumping in and trying to interfere and break up, like, look what they did to the UFO organizations.
Oh yeah.
That wakes people up too.
But I think DeLonge already, is he just the last little hammer blow before the end? Because, like, we seen Russell Accord and Expedition Bigfoot. I think they're about the only, I don't want to step on any toes, but to me, they seem like the most legit group out there that are actually trying to find stuff, because they're like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, finding Bigfoot, everything's squatchy, it's a bad catch rate that turned into a really bad meme.
Yeah. Now, there is a lot of them out there. And
well, I tell you. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Go on.
Well, what I was going to say is like, there's the guy that is getting a lot of grief from the BFO organizations. His name is Steve Isdall. He's not out. He's not out
sorry,
making calls.
Yeah, repeat that again. You got really choppy.
I'm sorry. His name is Steve Isdall. It's a How to Hunt channel on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I watched.
And he is catching all kinds of crap from these organizations, but all he's doing is reading emails that people are sending in about their encounters. Now, see, that creates a whole different situation when you talk about research.
Oh yeah, because we had Daniel Benoit from the ECBRO, and that guy's awesome. He's a really down to earth guy, and his philosophy is like, you need to be out in nature so you know what nature sounds like before you say it's something else.
Exactly.
Awesome guy.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people, when they hear them loud screams, they don't realize that the black bear and the grizzly bear can do the same thing to you at 30 yards.
Right. Well, there's a lot of
like I said,
you
hear
hear
a lot of animals, but
oh yeah, but some of the noises they make are not typical.
A lot of the stuff that we look into, a lot of people don't. Like your shows, for example, the car at the bottom of the cave of the mine. Holy moly! I never seen that. I was just floored.
Yeah,
you need to tell the other guys about that.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
Right in our state, and we didn't hear about it.
No,
go ahead.
Oh, okay, like in whatever, like in mid-2012, 2014, out in Blackhawk, South Dakota, they had a gypsum mine collapse, so it created a sinkhole. We did an episode of like sinkholes and time slips and all this. It was a hodgepodge. But basically, I showed this picture of this 1954 car inside this cave system. And I mean, if you look on our Instagram page, you'll see pictures of it. I post it. And you have a guy standing next to her, and there's boulders underneath this car. And the car is pushed up against the cave top, and they're trying to explain it by saying, yeah, there was a flood and it pushed this car back there. And I'm like, bull fucking shit. That car is not there normally. So, and that's how I got in that whole time slip. Maybe this guy, the people that missed the time slips, maybe that's where he ended up.
Sounds fucked up.
That sounds like some Army of Darkness type shit.
Right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, mate. I tell you what.
They're trying to say
fucking that is Army of Darkness, mate.
Going through the fucking hole with him in his car.
Klaatu Verata.
Yeah.
This is my boomstick.
Well, you know, I was listening to their show, and they talked about that. But you know, we've also found a modern spark plug under 2 miles of a coal seam.
Correct.
Now, how did that get there? Inside the coal.
Yep.
There's a lot of these things. Oh yeah, it was a natural formation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just listen to the government. What did Fauci tell you?
Coincidence. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah, that is fucking weird. So wait, so I just want to ask this. So the car was like under a pile of rocks and actually pushed to the top.
Yes, if you look at the picture, there's a guy standing up here. He's like average height, let's say 5'10", and it shows a picture, and there's actually like refrigerator-sized boulders underneath this car, prepping it up against the roof of the cave.
That's then you have to be like, well, how fucking strong was this water to actually move those?
Right,
come on.
That had to be like a biblical proportions.
Now, don't get me wrong. That area back in the 70s did have a big flood through one of the cities, but this car is from the 50s. And how big was the cave opening it got washed into to have it go down this narrow cave system to then be smashed up, wedged between basically boulders and a roof?
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of... It belies explanation to me to be naturally just flooded car gets wiped into this cave and just sits there.
Can you imagine being
on our Instagram account for sure? I know that.
Can you imagine being the guy that was on the acid trip that woke up in the cave?
Right.
Yeah. It'd be like, whoa, fucking had a bit of cabbage.
But the cool thing of that car was actually manufactured in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah,
that's where that car was made.
3 hours.
So it's kind of weird.
It is very weird, isn't it?
But it's all natural.
Yeah, it's just weird, isn't it?
Some like Yoda type shit.
Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda did that shit.
He's a fucking sicko, isn't he, over here?
Oh shit!
He is for sure.
Well, I know there's a lot of us on here right now, but what other programs are like New York and Lux and my friend with the headlights? What shows are you guys working on now?
Oh, you guys
We're
were
about to start a brand new series for the Kabbalah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we're working on next. We're gonna dive deep into the like the real meaning of the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, and it's something we're really looking forward to because it's probably some of the most important information to put out there, so people can kind of figure out what it really is instead of all the disinfo out there about it.
Yeah.
I think since you began, it's just been everything that you cover. It's imperative. We need to know the kind of stuff, the kind of truth, what we need, and every single fucking series you do, it just blitzes the previous one completely. They're just fucking incredible. Every single one, just one after the other. Fucking.
Yeah, and I think even doing this, even people who like the Scarlet Horse series, maybe after we're done doing this, people could even go back and learn more. Because that might make more sense, actually, if you listen to the series that comes out next.
I mean, also, mate, you do get people who they'll try and put their own perspective to it, sort of copy it in a way, but their own way. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that it is what it is, really. But still, it doesn't matter who does it. They don't come anywhere near the level that you deliver, mate. I'm not just saying it.
Well, and the hardest thing too is trying to figure out what kind of agenda people have to be putting out the stuff that they're putting out. Are they trying to hide something? Are they trying to make money off of you, or are they one of those illusionists? Look over here, not over there. And that's really hard to sort out oftentimes.
It is, because I mean, straight away off the bat is your show. It's not monetized. It never has been. You're not one of those shows. No, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying that you're not the show. One of those shows what is about wanting money for what you're for the information you're sharing. That is. It's admirable.
Yeah, thank you.
That it's not about money. You've got what agenda, and that agenda is true. I think it's probably one of the reasons why I've not monetized my own show.
Well,
it's never even been a thought.
One of the reasons why too, and I think I said it. Well, I didn't say it. I typed it in chat. But they were talking about it yesterday when I was on Spiritual Gangsters with Teresa about, that I don't charge, and I said one of the reasons why, and this is actually why for me, just for that, I don't like charging is because if me and Lux are trying to explain magic or how magic works and this or that, or just touching on certain things, people, in my opinion, are totally oblivious don't really totally understand magic. You know what I'm saying? And then end up, unfortunately, when they think they do, they end up hurting themselves more. I'd hate to charge someone to misunderstand my shit and actually be more fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I would feel like a complete asshole if someone actually paid to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason why, too.
That is in itself, mate, and more in ways of being an admiration. Because you're just honest, and honesty is easier said than done.
Well, and the thing that really bothers me that's become very popular in the community over the last couple of years is that the information, because I have no problem at all. If you're a podcaster, right, let's say you're doing research, right? You're researching a subject and you're bringing this information honestly and truly to your audience, and you've put in that hard work and time to do it. If people want to give to you, that's perfectly fine.
That's different.
But to put it behind a paywall And to be like, oh, if you want
exactly
to hear the
what I mean,
truth,
mate.
then
Yeah,
now you
exactly.
have to pay, a certain amount of money a month just to hear the truth. It's a total scam, and it's tarnishing the community, honestly.
That's a better perspective. The words you've used, and that's what I mean. Looks, thank you.
Well,
You know,
back
and
to what
I
I
just-
was asking. Back to what I was asking. What are we going to be seeing on the edge of the headlights here pretty soon? You guys working on
there
anything?
you go. There you go. Yeah, get back to
Well, next week we're gonna do. First of all, I got to address that. First of all, I didn't know. I thought we could retire doing this podcast thing. Come on. That's why I started the whole thing. I wanted to retire.
Still might be able to, mate.
We wanted to get big enough to be like, hey, do you want a little more? We'll do the gaming EA thing.
No,
It's like, if you want the rest of the episode, it's only like $1.50. But
yeah, no. We don't mean it in a bad way. It's just it's just that perspective. It's just that that's my way.
Oh, I
always have admired.
I'm only that way with like occultism and shit like that people can warp their brains with. Entertainment or anything else, fucking go for it. If you can make money, do it. I'm just that stuff.
Like with
I don't want to make money off of you getting fucked up.
Right.
I just mean we're all different at the end of the day.
Like actual magic rituals and stuff. I get where you're coming from, man. That's a dangerous road to go down if you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what? And there's a lot of
Absolutely,
people
guys. Absolutely.
Not understanding how real some of it can get. And yeah, I would feel bad too, where it's like, oh shit, man, they were paying me every month, and they went and did this, and yeah, no, that's I am totally on board with that, man. I agree with you on that.
That's DARPA talking.
That's DARPA talking. Sorry.
No, but back to the original question.
Yeah, what are you guys doing?
Well, we got we're probably shortly do a Bill Clinton kill list.
Yeah,
that's probably the block next.
I love it.
Digging into that political landmine, if you will.
Yep. So if you get aced out, you guys know what happened ahead of time.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we were both in an accident, same time, different vehicles.
You're hanging on a doorknob with a red scarf.
Yeah.
Exactly the same time.
Yeah, we committed suicide by shooting ourselves in the back, things like that.
Also,
we had I don't want to interrupt you guys, but General will start laughing. The minute they told me I couldn't talk about Sandy Hook, I did a 1-hour podcast explaining the whole thing. And today the United Nations and UNESCO said I can't talk about Sauron, and I can't talk about Bill Hates, and I can't talk about the Red Shields. So the first thing I did was I put up a podcast today with all their dirt.
You're a legend, mate. I fucking love it.
I know we've had a few things.
UNESCO's an evil corporation. I think they're in charge of the world.
Oh, man.
I think they are. But also they're doing we had a listener write us and email us. We're going to do one on the Wendigo here. And that's really led me down a really deep rabbit hole already.
Oh, I would imagine.
Then I'm kind of working on what I'm doing, who's the guy from Philadelphia? That's always Charlie guy.
Charlie from Always Sunny.
Charlie from Always Sunny. I'm actually pulling to him, and I'm actually busting out for all these accelerators.
Is that where's Archer?
That's be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's always kind of a grab bag of what we're going to actually do next. But yeah, I think the next one on the block is probably the Clinton one, I think.
Yep.
The Clinton one. Sounds fun, that man.
So now on the particle accelerators, are you guys going to be working, on the big one, or are you going to look at all of them in general?
I got a map I'm making out. I'm actually doing the dots and the thing because I got an idea.
There's
fantastic
a seed of an idea there.
Because I actually just got one on Lead, South Dakota. It's called the Dune. That's what I'm going to probably name the episode, Dune episode. But we're not talking about the movie.
Yeah, not Herbert's work, but a different Dune.
Yeah, they got the underground neutrino experiment. And they're actually hooked up with Fermilab.
Yep.
So I got a couple ideas on that.
Well, I can throw you a couple other lines on that one, too. Keep in mind that a lot of those colliders are put on top of places that already have an electromagnetic disturbance in the first place.
Yep. I already figured that out.
Yep.
I got you, brother.
So
got you, brother.
Topping it a little bit of a top up. You think?
They're messing with stuff they shouldn't be messing with.
Bring one over to Skinwalker Ranch.
Do you
They
know
don't want to do
something?
that because
Exactly. Straight away, as soon as I thought that, straight away.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, I'd love to be on the edge of the headlights if you're going to do a conversation on those electromagnetics and the LHCs. That would be fun.
Yeah, definitely. You can check out our email address and email your information and that. I'm not very tech savvy, neither is Marty. So
That's
pretty much the extent.
Yeah.
My stubbornness outweighs the technology, I guess.
Well, sometimes it has to.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
And that's a good point that you brought up too about them, doing certain experiments or these accelerators or government research on certain ley lines or certain, geological formations. Like, we just got done with our Skinwalker series, and it's clear that there's so many different accounts that's coming from Skinwalker, from everything from Bigfoot to UFOs to, giant wolves that are like mauling people and totally not
bulletproof.
They're bulletproof. And then when you look at the actual documents from the Gov about what the research they were doing there, some of that's like disinformation, and they were really doing much deeper, crazier stuff than looking into some of those subjects. Like, they were looking into opening portals based on certain like times of the year when it would open up, and then you could send something through these portals. So it's sort of like a create your own adventure in certain of these places. That
of course we're all on the playing board too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely a really crazy location, and I think based on the fact that the government researched it for so long and they have so much documents about it, that's like a case in point on what they're doing at these locations.
Well, the fun thing to me with that is how much the government just goes, well, yeah, we just gave it up. We didn't find nothing. Oh, bullshit. You have documents here showing stuff that you found. Don't give us that. We gave up on it. We didn't find anything. Don't give me that.
Well, what they do too, though, is they switch the name of the program. Mm-hmm. So they'll say, oh, it's this operation, and then 2 years later they'll get a funding for another operation, but all it's doing is replacing the name. It's the same research.
It's huge amounts of money.
Yeah, huge. It's the same program, just a new name for it.
Well, it's like Pandora never went away. They just changed it to Tetra, and they moved it over to the UK and Europe.
Yep.
But guys, I'm going to throw a question out to all of you, because now we've got a really wide variety of researchers here. What do you guys really think about these time slips? Because you guys have done a show. New York's talked about it. I've heard Lux talk about it. General and I have talked about it. What do you guys think about these time slips? And I'm just going to mute my mic because I'm inside of a big space. But I wanted to see how each one of you guys, what did you all find, and where did you find yourselves leaning towards with these time slips?
Oh.
Go ahead, Lux.
I'm
gonna time slip up to your guys' turn.
Wow.
You guys are good. You guys are good.
Oh. I mean, in my opinion, really, when it comes to the time slip stuff, so if you put the Tree of Life and the Kabbalah together, what it looks like is that we are, especially when you look at the M theory and the way that modern physics has explained the way that dimensions intertwine and work together. You put that right on top of the Tree of Life, it's the exact same thing. It's just in a 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional model, depending on the way you look at it. So what I'm thinking is that, and I'm going to go more into this into the next series that we're doing, there are certain places, and based on certain meditative practices or even just anomalies, that it's possible to slip backwards in time, or to navigate that in the astral plane, whether that be you doing astral travel or something. But I know even for me, doing a lot of the rituals that I once did, it's possible. And I think what the government has done is they've weaponized and understood how it all works, and they have entire programs built around it. And it's a lot of different factors that make it possible, but certain locations, certain materials in that location are really important for, and the person and their innate abilities to travel back and forth through these different dimensions with certain meditations is absolutely possible.
Right. Incredible, mate. Incredible.
Yeah, touching on some of that.
Fucking hell, man.
I think when it comes to the government, unfortunately, I don't think sometimes they fully understand what they're doing. I think they understand a process.
Yeah.
And they're making it activate. But sometimes I'm not sure how fully aware they are of what they're actually tampering with. You know,
absolutely.
It's like, yeah, we can make it do
Absolutely
this. But what does that do? We're not sure, but it might be good, might be bad. We don't know.
I think that myself, you know, I think that they know a bit, but I think they're winging most of this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think it's dangerous what they're doing, because obviously I'm just saying it as how I see it.
Yeah. To me, sometimes it almost seems like the problem of just because you can doesn't mean you should. And a lot of times they just do it because they can.
Yes,
you
know, totally right. Totally right.
It's and like, then figure out, oh shit, we caused a problem. Well, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
You ever see that?
Keep pushing that button. It should get better, right? No, man, no. It doesn't always get better.
You ever see that movie, The Mist? It's a Stephen King book.
Oh yeah.
That's really I see that being totally possible. The government did that by accident.
Yes, mate. Yes. I have actually. That's quite good, actually, isn't it? The Mist and there's all them fucking mad entities.
Just weird that, I'm sorry. It's just weird that you bring up that movie, The Mist, because just recently, China created a magnet that's 10,000 times more powerful than the Earth magnetic field.
Oh, geez.
They
just did. Just for shits and grins.
Why?
Just for shits and grins.
Because they can.
Because it's a world record now. But that's actually funny. If you look at the Mist books, the Mist story, that's what they were fucking with at the military base was magnetic fields.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm very confused. What they made?
Well, you know, guys, that was the same thing that the Nazis were doing with the bell.
Correct.
Yes.
And we also have the dual counter-spinning magnetic fields from the big LHCs and the small ones.
Yep.
Let's put them all on at the same time.
Well, you know, most of the places that we see anomalies, whether it's Bigfoot or strange lights or unidentified flying objects, we have strange Earth anomalies too, as far as Earth movement, is where we already have a high potency electromagnetic field anyway. So, you know, what kind of game are these people playing? Gary Wayne the other day when we were on brought up something. Possibly opening a portal, and then you tie that in with New York Patriots and Lux's work, and that's exactly what they said they were going to do or trying to do with the paperwork that they had out there. And that's the reason why I asked you guys about the time slippage, because wouldn't the electromagnetics be affecting?
Yes. I think everything is based on magnetism and electromagnetism. I mean, you know, like electric and then like, you know, magnetism. I mean, as basic as that sounds, but I think like if you're gonna, I see how all that shit honestly really makes sense with, I think, trying to fuck around with portals is having a gigantic, magnetic field.
It's seasonal too. It's not always the same location. These locations change based on these galactic seasons. The same way we have spring, summer, you know, things like that here on Earth. As so above, so below. Same way on, you know, there's a long percennial cycles where these different locations, where that energy is at, changes based on where we are, you know, around the sun and shit like that. But I mean, it's wild.
If I'm asking too many questions, tell me to shut up. But I'm just saying, you bring up a good point about it, the galactic cycles and that. I wonder if anybody's actually looked at the sun is in its high cycle right now for a couple of years.
Yep.
I wonder if anybody's looked at the different anomalies that show up during that time compared to the downtime of the sun, because that's a big influence on our planet. Because we get by solar storms like every day, it seems like recently.
And I know, like you said, the magnetics and electric seems like a simple answer, but it really does affect so much shit. The magnetics alone affects so many different little things in our everyday life, not even touching into obscure paranormal stuff. I mean, we don't realize it, but yeah, the electromagnets around us constantly are affecting little changes in everyday atmosphere that you're at.
Well, and
it
affects mentality, behavior, health.
Hell yeah.
So definitely.
And it doesn't have to change a lot in order to have those effects.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you look at the Gateway project from the was it 75 NY?
Yeah,
it
or 78. It's before the 80s.
Yeah, so essentially the CIA puts out this document. It's called Project Gateway, the Gateway Experiment, where they are messing around with different hertz, different frequencies, and electromagnetics, and they're trying to understand how it's possible to do all this astral travel and everything. And I mean, they in those documents and others too, they have it to like they know the exact hertz that they can use to make you have a headache, and they can do it, utilize this different frequency to make people feel a certain way, whether it be just two people or a whole population. They're able to understand like how these different frequencies and hertz interact with the human body. So they're even messing us up with our natural attunement with the things around us.
Right.
It's vile how they're doing it, mate. They're proper messing with people's fucking entire system, their brain, how they're thinking. And I mean, it's only little like snippets of what we're being told they're capable of doing. I mean, what is the extent of what they could really do to us? I don't know. I wonder what it is.
It's funny that we're talking about this because, like, actually, in a way, this is kind of what we were even, I guess, me and Lux were trying to get into even with our Kabbalah series, to kind of almost get into this at the end. I think kind of like wrapping it up. It's almost like even getting into what we're talking about now.
Right.
So, I
think some of that stuff with being able to affect us with frequency and things like that. As much as I am a giant fat nerd and I love movies and games and everything, it's not that crazy anymore, a sci-fi idea that even through our television shows that they are messing with different frequencies to affect how somebody is thinking when they're watching something.
Absolutely.
I mean,
we nailed it, dude. Absolutely.
Movie companies that are actually using infrasound in their films to try to heighten tension, and you can't hear it, but your body picks it up because our bodies are way more sensitive to this stuff than I think we give it credit for. And I do believe there are some of them that have figured out ways to at least subtly manipulate how people react and will think. I mean, you look at how many shows are out now, how much just visual media is out there right now. And like I said, I'm a giant nerd, and I will sit and watch hours of stupid shows all the time.
There
are people that watch these shows all the time, and how much is they being affected? You know, how many of these networks are they running this experiment in the background?
Yes,
seeing what happens.
You know what's a really good example of like even with like sound and like making people like feel certain ways. If you were to go back to like 80s and 90s horror movies and took out the soundtrack or the music, totally different movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
they would get you worked up from the subtle sounds behind everything prior to the actual scene.
Well,
those right there is a perfect example of how sound is being used to build people up to something.
Look at the film, the first Paranormal Activity. There is almost no visual in that entire film. It is all done by the sound of things off screen happening that builds that tension. I mean, and then that's a blatant use of that sound affecting how you are reacting to it, let alone some oddball weird hertz, that is being played in the background that you're not even aware is there.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing like 20, 30 years ago was like, oh, that's a crazy Max Headroom fucking sci-fi kind of concept. But I don't think it's that sci-fi anymore. I don't put it past them. I know a lot of people go, well, our government wouldn't do that. Dude, have you not seen the experiments that the U.S. has done on its own people and admitted to? How much other shit have they done that they aren't admitting that they experimented on us with?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the other thing that you get into, too, is there are so many subtleties that they can use, whether it be sound frequency or light frequency or even the frequency of strobes that they put on the televisions and in the movies.
Yep.
You know, I'm sure a lot of people sit in front of the television and think they're having time slips.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. Hey, mate, that was not surprising. Just like having a time slip, but not know anything about it. Fucking zonks.
Well, now, New York and Lux, you guys are going to be working on the Kabbalah.
Yes.
And then Edge of the Headlights, you guys are going to be working. You said you had a second show that you were talking about working on.
We had the Bill Clinton kill list. Then we had a
boy.
Yeah, then we had a customer request or a listener request.
Right, listener request
for the Wendigo.
So we may dig into a Wendigo story.
Wendigo.
And then who knows from there, man.
See, now that would be cool because, you know, somebody that's on here with us keeps asking me about Wendigo, and I don't know a dang thing about him. I'm not done any of the research.
I have been wanting to cover Wendigo for a long time. Mate.
I definitely don't want to listen to her episode now.
It's one of those just fucking fascinating mythos, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you get a chance to see the film? I think it came out last year. A film called Antlers.
What now?
Antlers, it's called, the film.
No, I haven't gotten to watch it.
Honestly, mate, I think it's one of Del Toro's. Mate, I was very surprised. I thought it was brilliant.
We'll probably have to mention it in our podcast.
Yeah.
But I got a really dumb. This actually, to me, this is a dumb question. I'm into this paranormal stuff. Can somebody explain to me the exact purpose of the Kabbalah, please?
You have two of the best to speak about that out. New York Patriot and Lux. They don't get any better.
I mean, I guess I'll simplify it. I think it shows you how you've gotten into the Matrix and how to leave it.
Okay.
I mean, that is absolutely the simplest answer.
Well, okay, because I know I'm going to say the knowledge I have on the Kabbalah. Okay, the only famous person I know that actually uses it is Tina Turner. I'm sorry, but also I'm just saying, I know that it's used for meditation to alter your brain waves and that. Is that basically what it's for? Is for calming and relaxation, and allow you to see other things that are quite out of the spectrum of normal sight?
It's a tricky one when it comes to the Kabbalah. It's all of those things. Like it's so layered. But like NY said, it's the outline of this matrix, and the whole study of at least the secret society that I was in, the Golden Dawn, really focuses on how that structure is formed and how to move around that different structure, different realities, and how frequency, light, how all of the different factors of a magician that they perform can help you move along that different path. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too with the Kabbalah is think about game hacks. The Kabbalah is filled with things that if you do them right, they are supposed to be able to hack the matrix that we're in as well. And if you look at some of the biggest practitioners, they definitely hacked something.
That's, you know what's funny? I think in that song "Devil Is a Lie" with Jay-Z and who the fuck is that other dude? I forgot his name. He says something about cheat code in that song, and I was like, that dude's talking about magic right there, that prick.
Yep.
Damn you, Jay-Z.
Yo, Rick Ross, him and Rick Ross.
You know, I'm an awful one because I always ask questions because a lot of people that listen to us, they don't understand how much time it takes for us to get the information because they're seeing this in an hour or two, you know.
Yeah.
So here's another one for all of you. What have you guys found the hardest part of trying to do the research? I mean, especially lately. You know,
Censorship.
I'll just tell you the censorship and the way that they are blocking access to what we used to be able to get to is probably the hardest one for me.
That's a good shout, Raven, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't even thought of that. But I mean, I'd say recently with the stuff that we have covered, I mean, just recently, like, there was I didn't seem like it wasn't like a tough thing to cover, but we did have to pick and choose what episodes we sent out to YouTube, recently. So, like, I never even thought of how, like, yeah, that has been a fucking issue, I guess, with this last series. I didn't put out part 2 on YouTube because I was like, I know I'll get a strike for something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if people who just listen to our YouTube, they didn't get part 2 because of fucking censorship. Right. I didn't want to risk it.
It's crazy, isn't it, mate? It really is.
Yeah, it's definitely changed over the years, especially the last 10. I mean, if you go to research a subject, even if you, depending on the browser you go to, it's going to bring up different stuff. But
yes,
the search results that were available 5 years ago are no longer there. They're gone.
Yeah.
That's why I screenshot everything. I put everything onto a hard drive. Because I know that this information is probably not going to be there when you try to Google it. So it does make research really hard because it's being censored out the ass on every one of these, platforms.
Yeah, you know what's funny, and because of that, every show that I think we've ever done, for the most part, on my end, because I make all this shit anyway, so I've gone out and gotten external hard drives, but like even every single screenshot or anything that I shared for the shows, I even save on the external hard drives, just so I know, like, I can even go back and look at what I had then, if you can't find it anymore.
Yeah, this is not hooked on to anything. There's no way they can get it.
Yeah.
See, but recently, I agree with the Google searches and that. It's really censored. But this isn't a blatant call out. We're not sponsored by this company, but I found out going to DuckDuckGo, I've had better luck researching stuff and they actually came out and said they actually kind of censor stuff too. But so I'm trying to find a different browser where I can go and anything. Let's say if General put out an article about UFOs are made out of squash, I can find it.
Yeah.
You know what? What's weird with DuckDuckGo for me? I've used it like on and off for a while, and it never really did much extra for me, except for some reason, and I don't know why, if it was just coincidental, but when we covered the Order of Quetzalcoatl and we covered the Shriners, it was a lot easier for me to find their lodge sites on there.
Really?
Like I could just type in like Shriners and Quetzalcoatl Lodge and hit, whatever search, and like I might find like I found ones like Arizona, whatever, like they would actually kind of pop up, or you'd find other sites with links to find them. But like if I did that on Google, I didn't find any of that. But besides that, I've never noticed a difference actually.
Yeah, so probably quite surprisingly different in that aspect, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, no, it was good for those series, for the Jesters and the Quetzalcoatl series, but for me, I don't know why anything else. It's actually hasn't like really done much extra for me. But I have heard people say it's really good for them.
Well, for me, a lot of times I go straight to websites. I don't know if you guys have heard. I know New York's heard me, but a lot of times I go straight to websites. So like the National Institutes of Health and those kind of websites. I've noticed I've had a lot more trouble getting access, and I've also noticed that I've had a lot more trouble getting the search parameters to read because I know specifically what I'm looking for. Right. And I do that at university sites too. Have you guys noticed that you guys have been having more trouble getting more direct answers, let's say it that way, out of your searches?
Oh, yeah.
To me, I definitely think the worst example of this whole thing is the fact that the Internet Archive is now being edited and changed.
Oh.
So at one point, there was, if you had the Internet Archive, it's a site that's just going to give you, originally, it's a site that's going to give you all of the backlogs, all the hits that anybody has ever done on a site. You go now, like, for example, the series that we just finished up was about this cult called Fellowship of Friends. Now, you can find some stuff on Google about it, but you go to the Internet Archives, it's like this guy doesn't even exist. Like the guy who started this cult, which is a lot of weird, nefarious stuff around him. He kind of seems like another one of these guys that was propped up to start a cult. But anyway, it's
you'll find out weird
archives. The records, it's all gone.
Weird and random stuff about it, but not really a damn fucking thing about that one dude. You saw it, right? Like the guy, Robert Burton, you fucking know nothing about him except for his pictures. And that he was, and from other people's accounts, the only thing I really know about him is he was just trying to fuck everybody. Like, I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
But nothing, like, where was he from, this and that, you know.
Male, female, most likely animals of some sort.
Does it move? Anything. Welcome to the church.
No, it was only dudes.
And those that haven't had a chance to listen to it, another phenomenal series, mate. It's brilliant. This is what I mean about the material that you cover. It's just, it's incredible, mate.
And they got like a whole department in fucking Google, too. Which is insane.
Yeah. Incredible.
That kind of explains everything, right? Like, if this group is involved with Google, then of course all their shit's going to disappear off the Internet Archive.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Very good point.
That's all our DARPA training. I have a thing about DARPA. I really don't like them, guys.
About who, mate?
DARPA. We went to the re-education camp, me and Marty.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, no, finding stuff depends on what I'm looking up. I have found recently anything that even fringes on political controversy sends me down to just absolute useless sites. Absolutely.
Well said.
Some bullshit where it's like, no, these guys are great. Like, no, they're not. I know that they did this horrible shit. That's the biggest one I have found, is it just sends me down to this useless propaganda. But in general, with looking stuff up, I have found the biggest problem, especially I think earliest, was with the UFO stuff. There is so much disinformation that's put out there. It's really hard to focus on what is factual and what has been bullshitted and pulled up. It's really hard to sift through the chaff from the wheat, really. Yeah. What is actually there? It's like, oh yeah, this seems like a really good story. It seems like too good a story. Well, is this bullshit? Is it not? I don't know. I kind of make a judgment call on your own.
I challenged a friend of mine. He was talking about, all the transgender, and look, y'all, I got nothing against any of those. I don't care what alphabet letter they choose. I got no problems with it. But I challenged this guy, a friend of mine. I said, look, man, if you think there's not an agenda, type in TG or transvestite and see what comes up. And what he noticed is like, there are so many images online now that they've put on that are screen shopped, shopped and chopped.
Yep.
And they're trying to make it look like it is a common thing.
Right.
But all you have to do is just look. He sent you. I shouldn't have done it because he sent me way more than I wanted to see.
Oh, no.
But you could actually see that they are intentionally trying to create an impression that this is a normal thing.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at the photographs that they've been filling the online world with, these are photoshopped. Mm-hmm. There's a really good, that's one very specific example, but there's a really good example of the agenda at work and how much work they're willing to do to push it.
Oh, yeah. No, like here in the U.S., the actual trans population that is affected by laws or what have you is a fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
But if you watch our news, you would swear that every other person in the country is trans. And again, I have nothing against it.
No, you're right. Though. You're right.
Well, it's like
they put this agenda, and they do it with everything.
Oh yeah, they did it with the heat.
Minority is the norm, and it's not.
They do it with the weather. They do it with the crime. They do. And what's really funny is when it comes to crime statistics, they never tell you the overall. They only tell you the stuff that they want you to see, which is ridiculous. And that's what I was. That's the reason why I was asking. Yeah, that's the reason why I was asking you guys if you were having trouble doing research, because a lot of the stuff that I've been getting into is like almost impossible to get straight from a search engine, and they won't let you in libraries anymore. What the heck's up with that?
What?
Crazy on the libraries,
I'm
mate.
a
Crazy.
member of a library, dude. I'm like, we put a PSA out.
Crazy,
like,
mate.
To make a comeback. So
Well,
everybody in this group here needs to write several books, donate them to the library, and they'll hang on to them for at least a year.
I'm a member of the local, community library, but like I used to be able to walk into any university library, especially with my credentials, and I could do any research I wanted to, even if I had to have assistance for some of the texts, some of the books. Today, those universities are denying entrance, which is like, what the heck?
I'm honestly not that shocked by that.
No.
It's for places of higher learning, they seem to hold on to what they have and not want anyone to learn. That's kind of my opinion anymore of them.
Yeah, it's just creating a total control of the information that people get, and so they think that whatever they see on Google, it must be true because that's the only information that they're getting. Here's a really good example. So a couple of months ago, we had done a series, and it was about the Royal Order of the Jesters. Okay, so the Royal Order of the Jesters is, first you have to be a Mason, then you have to become a Moose Lodge member, and then after you do that criteria, then finally, if you happen to get invited into this inner secret society called the Royal Order of the Jesters, that's where things get really crazy, because we uncovered in that series that there were human trafficking scandals going on, and they were doing some really, that fucked us up. That series was bad, man.
Wow.
This order was trafficking people all around the world. They were doing some really bad shit, right? So, but when you go back and you look at the webs, like, okay, maybe a different news organization covered that when it was happening in New York, because that's where a lot of the cases of where this, human trafficking was getting busted from. If you look it up, it sends you to a totally different website than the actual news article.
Correct.
It'll be like, oh my God.
Yo, so many of them were like that. It would be like, fuck, what was it, like the Chicago something, or it was like some kind of like news article that she put out all this stuff in, and you click on it and it took you to something completely different. Like they changed it. But like in the link itself, you can read that, like, as you're clicking on it, you can even see in the text that it's like what this lady's talking about. Click on it, completely different article, a completely different site.
Well, I'll tell you what really ticks me off about a lot of stuff that they're doing online is they will go in and edit it and leave the original date stamp. Now that used to be not allowed for journalism.
Yeah.
Wow, that's I don't know anymore. I don't think of most journalists as journalists anymore. Anyway,
That's true.
They're at best an opinion writer. At worst, a shill for whoever's paying their check to say, "Hey, this is." Wow.
Well, I pulled up an article. I was doing background on the let's just say the effects that we're seeing from these pinpoints of light that they're giving everybody.
Right.
But I was doing research, and what I had noticed is that the New England Journal of Medicine and the New York Times both had changed their articles, and the only reason why I even noticed is because I had screenshot them.
Oh.
They didn't change the date. They didn't change the byline or the title. What they did was they changed the statistical data inside the article. And I was like, holy crap.
Oh my God.
But anybody who would have looked at, let's say you guys looked at it last week and I looked at it this week, we would have had two completely different opinions. And it wouldn't have been our fault. It would have been because we saw the article a week apart.
Which is crazy, because honestly, you can fake statistics to say whatever you want to start with.
Yes, statistics.
You know what I mean?
What made you even look into that, Raven?
I'm sorry?
What made you even look into that points of light type thing? What made you look into that? Where did you hear that first? Because I just heard of that recently from Trump, but I don't know if somebody else said it before him.
Well, there's two different things we're talking about. There's two different things that we're talking about. The first one is the points of light that go back to the bloodlines. And the first time I ever heard it was the points of light when George Bush gave his speech.
That's it, Bush.
Yep.
And at the same time,
Points of light.
Yep, and at the same time, our darling over in England, the counterpart for Reagan, what was her name?
Thatcher.
Thatcher
Yeah,
said
she
the same
was,
thing in her speech.
Beautiful woman. Fit.
Beautiful man.
Are you all high or what?
Oh, man. She's bam.
But that's the 1,000 points of light go back to the bloodlines, and their right or their claim to everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Bullshit.
But the 1,000 points of lights I was referring to are the ones that we're seeing all these effects from that are causing people not to feel well.
Yes, mate. We know that, mate.
Think about how those two things directly connect too.
Absolutely.
Bloodlines. They're putting this into our blood, changing bloodlines, changing DNA. It's wild.
Well, I'm getting ready to do an expose on the genetic testing for genealogy companies.
Yes.
And you talk about getting stonewalled doing research, yo.
Oh God, I bet.
Why would anybody want to spit in a tube? Because my mom is big into genealogy.
No.
But my mom goes to like libraries and does all the actual reading of the books.
Oh yeah.
Why would you want to take your DNA, spit it in a tube, so they can clone you and use you for whatever else they want to use you for?
Well, yeah, but here's the other thing that's a problem. Is okay, let's say all of us in the show right now said, no, we ain't doing this. We're absolutely, no. And I didn't. I refused to.
No, I won't.
But let's say your brother did or your uncle did. Guess what? They can track you too.
Right.
So I imagine that everybody in the United States, once they got hooked into and hey, you know what, New York and Lux, this fits into your folks out there in Utah, who runs the biggest genealogy site.
Yeah, they do.
In the United
totally
States.
Right. They totally do. They had that FamilySearch.org, and I think something else.
It's not the
LDS.
Yep.
Oh man, no.
Well, and think about this too. In that series, when we were covering Skinwalker Ranch, essentially it's a bunch of Mormons who are out there, getting government funding to do this research at Skinwalker. Now they're claiming that they're looking at UFOs and things in the sky, but if you look at the ATIP documents, which is the name of the actual operation, they're talking about how to edit DNA. I don't know how that has anything to do with fucking UFOs, but it took millions of dollars, and these Mormons are more or less taking Skinwalker Ranch. They bought it, and if you look at the documents, it's scary shit.
Do you know what's scary looks as well? These cats, they're still working as if they're normal people.
Yeah.
They're far from normal.
Well, see, and the interesting thing is when you look at the group, look at the group we have right here in this podcast. We are all doing research that interweaves just like a mat.
Right.
So we're probably all on the hit list. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that out loud.
I pretty much assume that we're on a hit list of some kind.
I want to backtrack a minute. Lux, you're the one that's talking about the Royal Order of the Jester.
Yeah.
Did you find any connection to the Bohemian Grove through them guys?
Oh, good question, that, right?
Well, I guess, if you go by what some people that probably were jesters or at least Shriners, admitted to be Shriners, some of them I know have actually been at Bohemian Grove, like Reagan. He was a Shriner. I don't know if he was a jester, but he's been to
No, he was a jester.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah.
Guys, don't some of the jesters wear an Alpin?
See, the question is, I have never heard of the Royal before this podcast. Right now, in the last 20 minutes, I have never heard of the Royal Order of the Jesters ever.
Mm-hmm.
This is
okay.
this is exactly what I mean about the Occult Rejects. Right?
Neither did I until Lux brought it.
Yeah, when that got covered, that was a good 12 months ago. But
Yeah.
That's just off the top of my head. But I'd never even heard of the Jesters or the Shriners, and I was like, "Fuck, he's just."
I feel bad now because we defined as Shriners.
Well, you guys,
what it really boils down to, at least for me, and I'm sure NY would agree, like when we were in these secret societies that we were in, it seemed as though there was always another inner order, another secret society within another secret society.
Like a knock-on effect each time.
And that's exactly what they're doing with Masonry, Shrinerism, and all different secret societies. It's as long as if you fit the bill for what these deep inner orders want you to do for them. So, for example, with the Royal Order of the Jesters, all of them are cops. They're all judges. They're all lawyers. They're all very predominant, important people. But you have to be a Mason first, and you have to be a Shriner first. And then you can get by invite only into the Shriners. So
it's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, to me, it's like all of these inner orders feed into each other, man.
That's weird because anybody on video can see me. Nobody, the podcast can't see. I have my fingers holding up. I know 2 guys like that right now personally. That fit that criteria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, isn't it
about my age?
Right.
Isn't it insane the way that all of our research overlaps constantly, and we're not working together?
No,
that's the crazy. That's the crazy thing.
I don't know any of you people.
I don't even know where I'm at right now. What's going on?
But I think it says something to the. I think it says something to the situation that we're in and what we're seeing. You know.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what I was even saying before. Like we know someone. His name is Liege. That it does like Rando Nautica, and like the way he even looks at stuff has like. Goes along with the way we view certain things, but he's doing it from a different angle. Then there's like this guy, Carl that we had on, Carl the Crusher, who's been like studying the fucking glyphs and like tunnels and weird shit over at Skimwalker Ranch, and he's even like kind of like looking at it in a way that we would too. And it seems like it is very. That's what makes me think that like there is like maybe a change going on, or maybe people are more open minded, because it seems like. People who are into different things do find like more of a commonality or a basis. Like we would be able to talk to them just like we're talking to you about a topic and all see the same thing, but just in our way of looking at it. I do see a lot of that happening, and I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I think even in the last 20 years, some of the stuff we're talking about, I would probably not have talked to the average person about face to face, because there was a certain stigma to being, oh God, you're a fucking weirdo. You believe that? But I think it's become more common. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, there's almost an atmosphere like in the air of things coming to a head quicker than I was anticipating. Like something is going to come to a head at some point. Not saying next 6 months, but it's I think exponentially speeding up to maybe more disclosure of things that are happening. You know,
we know for me
it's aliens.
No, but like with just in general of weird stuff. I mean, you even look at the U.S. government, who in the last 2 years has been like, well, yeah, here's some shit, we don't know what it is, and throw it out there. Even if they do know what it is, 10 years ago, that's not something they would have done. You know what I mean? I think the general public has a much more open view to bizarre things happening. And it just sometimes feels like there's just kind of a snowball rolling up to something big coming. I don't know.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's like it's they're just like preparing us, ready for something daft what's going to happen. Like, it's always going to be something else, and then we got COVID, and then we've got the old monkeypox, what can only be is it passed back down through the transcendent and that kind of folk, so to speak.
Yep.
I don't know, but it's convenient.
Oh, they're definitely preparing us for something, that's for sure. Like, if you look at the lockstep documents, the Rockefeller lockstep documents, the different scenarios that they outline are, one, a giant virus that spreads around the world so that they can lock the world down, change economies, bankrupt all of the different, nations while they pocket all of the profits. And then the next step is a fake alien invasion that would unite humanity. So, like, it's like,
under our banner of benevolence.
Right.
See, but with that, I think that kind of backfired on them, because with that lockstep thing, yes, we had a worldwide virus. I'm not going to argue that. People did die, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think that bit them in the ass, because that allowed us people in this room and thousands of other people that were locked at home and like, God, I'm bored. Oh, what's this weird book on the shelf? Let's look up the weirdest shit we can find. And that expanded everybody's knowledge. And it's like, they kind of lost control of what's going on, because there was more pieces of the puzzle allowed to them, because everybody was at home doing nothing.
Yeah. Does that make me one of the weirdest shit they could find?
I can find some pretty weird shit on the internet, especially about penguins.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they made a serious mistake, because they gave people in some places almost 2 years to actually look at things when they didn't have time before.
Exactly. Yeah, like the first 2 months, they're figuring out what they want to do, but after a couple months, like, well, I'm bored. Let me look this up. And these guys aren't as crazy as I was led to believe.
Yeah, well,
they moved too quick. I don't know about you guys. Realize that people were going to jump on board with, actually researching the stuff. Okay, so for like, as a magician, which a lot of these guys at the very top who are controlling all this bullshit, they understand magic. One of the most important principles about magic, especially black magic, is that I have to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of this stuff that we see in media and the events that are going on around the world, it's that. But they totally underestimated the ability for mankind to spread the real truth and be critical of the narrative. I don't think that they saw it coming. So I think things kind of have been flipped on their head, for them at least. They didn't expect people to do what we're doing right now.
Well, I think they expected more people to just follow in line,
watch TV.
Yeah, and we're telling you what's going on. You just stay right there. We'll let you know what your next step needs to be.
Well,
and I think they underestimated the human spirit to not want to be fucking told what to do. You know what I mean?
Well, True. I have a story, like in South Dakota here. We didn't really have a lockdown, but I had neighbors. I mean, I have one neighbor in particular. I won't say their names, but they were completely terrified of this virus. They would not step outside their house unless it was from their car to work, and home. And eventually, these people got to the point they're like, "Fuck it, if we're gonna die, we're gonna die." And then they find out it's not as bad as what it actually is. Yes, people did die. I'll say that again. I'm not saying that people didn't die, but people are like, "Oh, it's not as bad as what the TV's saying." And that's where they lost control, is because people just started going away from their TV and actually talking to their neighbors and saying, "Hey, yeah, I know such and such." Then it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll tell you something else that I've noticed, guys. It's people who listen to me, and then, New York and Lux in general, and even you guys. Have you guys noticed people are starting to realize that we actually do some fucking research? Excuse my language. But they thought we were just on the air blowing smoke up somebody's butt. They actually started listening to us and realized that, oh my goodness, they actually know something. Holy crap, they're quoting Herodotus? What the hell's with that?
Yeah, and that's why they want to censor all the information that's on the internet.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a control move. All of it is about control.
Like example of what you were saying, Raven, was we had an interview that was actually in my studio in the basement, and his name was Cody. We have interviewed. He's like, afterwards, he's like, hey, he actually told me about a UFO report he had, but he never thought of it that way before. But he's listening to us or any of us podcasts talk about how to look at something different. He's like, yeah, I actually saw a UFO because that's not in a plane.
Yep.
It's just getting different perspectives, like from us guys.
Oh yeah.
It'd be weird, but we kind of know our shit.
Oh yeah. Well, and the thing, I just, for me, it was really hard to believe that you know, I've got alphabets behind my name, a whole string of them, and people just thought I was blowing smoke. and then all of a sudden they start looking at, somebody actually looked at Herodotus, which I feel bad for him, and they realized that I was quoting historical text.
Yeah.
And then they were just blown away. And it's like, what do you expect us to do? Get on here and just rattle? There is no way we could just rattle this shit off in a sequence like we do. They act like it's fiction.
Yeah, sadly, the problem is there again. We talked like earlier. We were talking about some of these people putting out shows, whether they be podcasts, TV shows, where that's what they do.
Yeah, that's true.
Babble out bullshit, and they're used to it being just a quote show. But it's
yeah,
like,
I got
we
you.
spend a lot of time, you know, looking stuff up. Like it's even with our silly show where it's, you know, an hour or whatever. It's like, man, there is actually quite a chunk of time that is spent digging into some of this, and some of that, like, we barely scratched the surface on some of these subjects where it's like, oh,
well, you know,
do another full show on this.
I'm a hard case host, y'all. So Lux, New York, Edge of the Headlights. How long do you guys think you spend? Just say 1 hour podcast. How much time do you think you spend doing research? For me, I know it can go 2 or 3 or 4 days, couple weeks.
Yeah, we
agree.
jam it into a week usually. At some point, I pick little bits of time. Like during the week, I work like Tuesday through Fridays. But like Sunday morning especially, I'll like brew up some coffee and just plan on I'm going to sit here and look a bunch of shit up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's nothing for 3-4 hours in that chunk just to go by.
Oh, yeah.
And then even like an hour before I get over here to record, sometimes I'm still looking little bits of stuff up.
Usually taking a nap.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's multiple hours of just for a 1 hour, one-off, oddball, say, missing 411 show. It's multiple hours of just looking through stories and like, okay, well, this seems like bullshit. Oh, we've covered that story. And then digging into stuff. And when you get into some of the more interesting, like bizarre stuff, you can easily go down a rabbit hole for another couple hours and go like, oh, fuck, I need to get back on task with this. You know, I mean, it's multiple hours that get spent on just looking stuff up.
You know, I've told people that for an average hour-long show for me, if I'm actually doing a subject, I've probably spent 25 to 30 hours minimum between listening to presentations, reading, listening to. Right. I do PDF to speech. What about you guys, Lux, New York?
Say that again. Ask me that again.
It's a lot. I mean, especially for us, I think, and I can speak for NY when I say this, that, you know, we spend a lot of time doing the research. One, because it's impossible to find any information because it's all gone off the internet. But two, that we want to get it right. We want to make sure that the information that we're presenting to the listeners is real, authentic, and researched to the very best of our ability. You know, it's shit. I definitely agree with what you said about the time length. You know, if you're doing one episode, it's going to take a couple weeks at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, put it this way, like if we do, I'd say like a 3 or 4 part series, it probably took us like a month or 5 weeks to like, you do that and record all of it. Like we could, like if it's 4 parts, we might research for 2 weeks and then record the first and second part and then like still research more and then finish up the next 1 or 2. But however, like parts there is to a series, there is at least probably a week's worth of research that went into that. So if it's a 4-part series, I'd say it's at least a month that it took us to record it and do everything.
Yep. And speaking to an important thing that you said was being authentic with the fans and people that are listening. Like it'd be easy to come on here and just rattle off some random bullshit. Well, like us, when we started the show, the whole idea was to bring sometimes maybe obscure stories to people that maybe they hadn't come across. And to be honest with them, I don't want to send them out with a line of bullshit, especially if they're going to turn around and be like, oh man, I heard these guys say this, and it's complete crap. You know, there has to be some kind of authenticity to what you're doing there. You have, to some extent, a social responsibility to tell them factual stuff. You know, not just fear-mongering and bullshit.
New York will start laughing at me, but I've said it numerous times. If you don't like how, as a cowboy I am right now, you're not going to like my next show either, because I'm not changing. This is what you get.
You're right. And it's one of those too where, I mean, you have to think about the people listening and being honest with them. Well, like we've said too, even if our show sucks and nobody's listening, we're going to keep making it until we get tired of doing it. You know?
Yeah, there you go.
As long as you're having fun,
Absolutely.
man, really.
On air
right?
for the episodes, we've already had these discussions 20 other times.
Oh yeah,
and never recorded them. It's like, it's just, me and Marty have always talked like this.
right. It's just always been weird stuff. Man, did you see that weird fucking light the other night? No, tell me about it. You know, but it's just how it is with us.
Well, see, that's me, and I got to tell you guys, I really have enjoyed your shows. I kind of binged on them because I found out we were going to be with you. But I really enjoy your shows because you guys play off each other really well. You can tell that you're friends, and there's no BS involved. And it's the same thing with New York and Lux.
Nice, thank you. Thank you.
No, man, that's really appreciated, man. We really do. Did you avoid the first few shows because they were horrible?
Well, I'll tell you,
I hate our first few shows.
It's really hard if you. A lot of the guys start out with their podcast and they like can't stand their original 2 or 3. But you know, I'll tell you, my first podcast, I was trying to do. I used to do stand up, and I was trying to figure out how to do it without an audience. You want to hear awful? Right. Go back and listen to my first 2 or 3 laugh podcasts. You want to get laugh at
to kick in?
Oh no, dude! I had crickets. I was outside trying to do the routine, and I actually had crickets. No, that's the last thing you want to hear, man.
And I've heard that from a lot of people that they're like, yeah, no, everybody hates their early stuff. It's one of those where I think you're trying to find kind of your groove of how things are going to work.
There you go.
And with us, it's just we're bullshitting like we always do. It seems to work the best for us.
New York and Lux, you guys have been working together the longest. How long do you think it took before you guys kind of found a rhythm? I mean, people who are wanting to do this, they need to know this.
I mean, for me, I gotta say it didn't take long.
No, not really at all. I was gonna say I Pet Goat, and I think that's the first topic we've actually really covered together.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to make us sound cool or whatever. We just happen to vibe together. We have similar personalities. We're just slightly different in some ways, but yeah, it's just for us, you know. I don't think it was that long.
No, you know, and you know what the thing was.
With.
The thing I think was too is that like the way that we first kind of. I think we both saw, even just with like the first few series that we did, it was quite obvious that we both had our own ways of looking at the topic, and it just seemed to fit anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because it just covered something in different aspects, and I was just like, well, might as well leave it like that because that's great. So I never even questioned about like, it was just and like a lot of times. Not to pat ourselves on the back, we'll come up with the topic and we'll research it for 2 weeks and then like we'll get together or whatever and like, but like we kind of have an idea of like who's looking at what, but not how or where, and it always ends. It just always ends up to where things worked out fine, to where I actually didn't look at things that he did, or not. It's very weird actually.
It's a synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, guys, have you guys ever just wished that for both of you, because you guys work in pairs a lot. Have you guys ever wished that you just caught your BS session on a recording?
Well, I don't know. Most of our recordings feel like a BS session half the way through, anyways, because we get sidetracked so easy. And there's only 2 of us here, and that's how easily we're sidetracked. But yeah, no, there are some times where I'll have stuff where I'm like, oh man, I wish we would have recorded that to throw into a show somewhere.
Well, I'll use an example. I have a portable recorder now, but we went to a Bigfoot conference last year in Minnesota, and Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Went to a Bigfoot conference. And him and me were just bullshitting in the car. I'm like, Christ, this would make a hell of an episode if we could have recorded it.
We should have had this down. Damn
but
it.
we were talking about all this stuff we were seeing, and it just slid off on random tangents. And it would have been a really good episode, I think.
It would have been entertaining.
At least.
Maybe not as informative as it is just entertaining on that one, but
Killer Hobo Road.
yeah, no, just wild stuff. But yeah, no, I get that. There are some times where it's like, and I found if you try to recreate that,
it doesn't work.
You can't. Yeah, it doesn't get the same click. It just feels very forced.
Camino Health Home.
Yeah, we had one episode where we had to redo it. We actually went through an episode of just and we ended the episode with reading Tomino's curse poem, which is supposed to be horrible. And we're like, yeah, no, it's all bullshit. Yeah, no, the episode wouldn't play back. We couldn't get it to download. It was doing weird shit. And we actually had to record the entire whole episode again.
And the bad thing about that is, after we recorded it the first time, I tried to get up out of my chair, and I damn near fell on my ass because my legs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
not a good deal.
It was probably the weirdest moment we've had actually recording stuff. And yeah, I mean, some of it still turned out like an all right episode, but there was some stuff it's like you just can't recreate.
No, I tell you what, man, you want to hear me cuss and bitch and moan, there's a couple of my podcasts I had to re-record because my system screwed up. Oh, I was mad. What about you guys, Lux, New York? You guys ever have just a BS session that you wish you'd have got on tape?
We probably like an hour before each podcast.
Yeah. I noticed that we do that. Yeah.
I did originally when we first started. There was times where I had recorded like our bullshitting beforehand, and we had talked about maybe putting some of it out, and then the hard drive on that computer took a shit, and I lost it. So,
oh man,
yeah, that was like right at the beginning before I started transferring shit to hard drives. So.
Well, I tell you what, I like getting on StreamYard with you guys because it goes out live, so people get to see. This is how we are,
Yeah.
For better or worse, this is how we are.
Unedited.
Wait, this is live and not pre-recorded?
Yeah.
What do you mean we're not editing that out? How dare you say I'm talking shit about the Clintons? I don't want to die.
Well, for me, it's like I was recording, and I actually, when I'm not doing this kind of format, I got a recorder, and then I transfer it. Man, for some reason, it stopped, and I did like 45 minutes of improv comedy before I realized. Now, you think about that. 45 minutes of improv comedy just working off an idea I had, and then I looked down and the stinking recorder had quit. You talk about going through the roof. You cannot duplicate that energy ever.
Oh, God, no. Oh, my God, that's frustrating.
And has that happened to you guys? Your recorder's just not working? He's upside down.
That happened a few times in the beginning. I think with us, we'd had issues with before I ever had like a mixer or started using StreamYard, because like between both of those, like I'm getting it somewhere because I'm recording it on my mixer now in a waveform, and I'm recording it here on StreamYard. There was like times I think when I used like OBS, or like at one point me and Lux used to just record through Discord. We would like go through a video chat channel, and I would just use OBS and record, and like I think Audacity. And we did have issues with times I think we recorded shit, and like either like shit got fucked up or we had to redo it. I think once or twice.
So see, everybody, we have trouble too. Now we're at an hour and a half, y'all. So
oh yeah, and I do have to
Edge of the headlights. Can you tell everybody where we can find you? What platforms? If you got a web page.
We do not have a web page, but you can find us on Instagram at EOTH Podcast, Twitter, EOTH Podcast, and Discord at EOTH Podcast. And if you have any really cool stories you want to email us, we'll talk about just about anything. It's at EOTHpodcast@gmail.com.
Sweet,
nice.
Sweet. How about you guys, New York, Lux?
You can go, Lux.
I mean, for me, just one thing I wanted to say. This conversation's been really amazing, right? And what I've kind of gathered from it, like, especially after the last couple of minutes, is that there's people that are coming together, right? And I'll plug our shit after, but I think this is important. For, guys who are all meeting together in the last couple of years to kind of show the research that we've all found independently. We're coming together as a community, and we're putting the pieces together. And, for anybody out there who's interested in starting a podcast, it doesn't take much. It's a mic and a computer. Whatever you can do, start it. If you have research, start it. Create a podcast, get your voice out there. It's extremely valuable, and it's the last thing that the mainstream media wants and the powers that be want. So, of course, same as I said before, you can find our content on Spreaker first and foremost. So
nice. Yeah, my stuff is New York Patriot Show. You can find it on major podcasts and stuff. And I want to piggyback on what Lux said too. Oh, and you could also find my stuff on Tour and More too on the YouTube. I think when I started, and I think when Lux started, we literally had like a laptop and a USB mic. That's like $30 or $40. That's literally what I started off with. If you were to go back and listen to our first episodes and then listen to our shit now, you'd be like, holy fuck, it sounds like they're using tin cans or something. But, that's, with a string,
Still living in the tin can.
Yes, but, hey, I mean, that's what we had, and we still made it happen,
I started out with just a cheap digital recorder and a
That's
cheap
what I had.
Android phone.
I had a
Cheap
digital
Android
recorder
phone.
at first. That's so funny. And I would just plug it into the computer and fucking throw it through Audacity and post it. That's all.
There you go. Guys, General, are you still with us?
Oh, you know what? Oh, hold on one second. Yeah, he is.
And it's melting. It's been melting continuously for fucking about 30 minutes non-stop, seriously. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, he's way past midnight over there.
I love you all. I seriously love every single one of you.
Well, General, tell everybody where we can find you.
Oh, me. Twitter is at Subcon Realms 33. Instagram is at Subcon_Realms 33. Email subconsciousrealms@gmail.com. I'm available on Spotify, Anchor, and now Apple.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you something else too. A lot of us. I appreciate that, General. Hey guys, a lot of our podcasts are showing up on Podcast Addicts now too.
Yes,
do y'all know that?
Yeah, that's what Raven, right? That's what I use, for my, what I listen to, and it's my favourite one. What I'm trying to say is just by how easy it is to find different content and creators.
Fantastic.
Everybody seems to be on there, mate. I think it's you are.
I'm always at the same place. You'll find me at Spreaker.com under No Apologies Enough Said, and I have a YouTube channel with all kinds of amazing stuff in playlists under Raven Kiefer. I don't know how, guys. I've been managed to stay on here for the last 35 minutes with my battery at 20%.
Nice.
Damn.
Yeah, I figured you weren't going to make it through the show when you mentioned you only had 22% a while
Very
ago.
fantastic conversation, y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's just it's a true honour to have fucking such an incredible conversation with.
Yeah, I had a good time. That was good talks. And I definitely, you other guys, I sent you my email on my chat. I would love to have you at least on my show as well. I think we could definitely get you in, especially with the Freaky Fridays. I think you'd be perfect for us just to have weird conversations about weird shit.
Hell yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be fun. So definitely got to keep in touch.
You like Freaky Fridays. You will like it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. All right, so so Lee, thank you again for having me on, and
Yes, General, thank you very much.
No problem,
I'm gonna go,
Anytime.
and unfortunately, that will end the show. So, everybody, be well.
Go get some sleep, guys.
He who controls the power controls the time.
Thanks. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Everybody have a good night. Later.
Good night.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.